See the one beside you, look in their eyes, long enough for you. All right. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing?
Wonderful.
Good.
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 Well, good
Great.
evening.
Good
Yes,
to
doing
you guys
great. Thank you
talk
for
back to
asking.
me now. Okay, well, my name is Lapia Guyan Simmons, and I'm honored to welcome you to the corner, College Life 101. I'm so thankful that each of you are here. So, the first thing that I want to do is tell you that this is brought to you by Positivity Plus. And if you haven't had the opportunity or haven't heard about it, you're in for a treat. Positivity Plus is an affordable telemental health application that provides affordable support, guidance, coaching, and therapy to students in elementary, middle, high school, as well as post secondary institutions. So that means from our wee little babies, as I like to call them, all the way up. So we haven't left anyone out. But the amazing thing about it is that it is a user friendly app. So you actually can go to your Apple store or you can go to Google Play, download it. I will tell you that I've had the opportunity to serve as a coach through the app, and it is so enjoyable. I've had the pleasure of working with many college students and helping them navigate this thing that we call life. And so, as a therapist, I'm always going to advocate, mental health. And so, make sure that you do what you need to do so that you can live a quality life. Okay. So tonight, what we're going to do is we have a panel here for you, and we're going to talk about everything it is to know for high school and college students, how to navigate, how to be successful. And so before I go any further, I want to make sure that I acknowledge our president, who is Dr. Hambrick, and also our founder, who is Dr. Upchurch. We would not be here if it was not for Dr. Upchurch and also our COO, Dr. McQuarrie. And so we're very thankful for them. And I can't move on without giving a special thank you to Erica McCaleb, who I'm going to call Dr. McCaleb. I can't, you know, move on without thanking her, without thanking Cassie, Lawanza, for doing such an amazing job, and Jamarlin. All of the things that you guys have seen, all the social media um, that you have seen going around, it's been because all of us work collectively as a team to make this happen today. So when you work together, amazing things can happen. So I'm very thankful to be a part of that team, and also Mark is also.
Yes, on my purse.
So without further ado, another thing. So this is what we're going to do tonight, guys. We're going to have the panel here for you. I'm going to introduce them to you, but I would like for all the attendees to get a pen, piece of paper, and write down your questions. So we're going to answer all of our questions first, and then we're going to open it up for you guys to ask us anything that you want to help you navigate this thing, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So the first person that I would like to introduce to you is going to be Miss Haviland Pearson. So if you would tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're on this panel tonight, we would really appreciate it.
Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Haviland Frierson. I'm a graduating senior English major at Langston University. I recently had the honor of serving my university as the 75th Miss Langston University. And upon graduating, I'll be attending North Carolina A&T, where I'll be a student in their English and African American Literature Master's program.
Awesome. Thank you so much. You going to my hometown. I'm from North Carolina, my home state. Okay. And then Miss Jada, if you would share with us.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm super excited to be here with you today. My name is Jada Spite. I am a senior at Fisk University. I'm majoring in music, and I'm super excited to be participating in this panel, The Corner. I think it's so important just to share my story and, just bring awareness to mental health. I think it's something that we often shy away from a lot of times talking about. And so I'm just honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you for being here, dear. Okay. And then how about Mr. Johnson?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Johnson. Miss Spate. I live probably a mile from Fisk University, there in Nashville as well, where I met actually Dr. Upchurch, who was graduating, receiving his doctorates in psychology. I'm excited to be here. That's where I met Dr. Upchurch, and we've maintained our friendship. I am a disabled veteran. I graduated from Tennessee State University, Matt, with a degree in psychology, a major in criminal justice. Went to Webster University, graduated from there with a master's in human resource development. I retired from the Department of Justice, the Federal Bureau of Prisons in 2012. I am a bully victim advocate. And the reason I say bully victim advocate is because when you use the word anti, that means against. So when they say anti-bullying, that means that you're against the bully. I'm for both. I'm a reentry coordinator where I love to go into institutions and prepare individuals to release back into society. And I'm a life coach, and I'm here to be of service to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, Jada, make sure you tell your president, Van Newkirk, that I said hello.
Oh, I absolutely will. Yes, ma'am.
Look, believe it or not, he was my professor in undergrad at North Carolina Wesleyan College. So,
No way.
yes, you guys have an amazing president. Okay. So if you ever need anything, you know that you can go to him. I am who I am today, part of who I am today because of his encouragement. So you guys definitely have an amazing president. Okay. And Miss Naomi, welcome back. So we're ready to hear you.
Hello, can you all hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I am Naomi Price. I am also a senior at Fisk University. I'm a mathematics major in concentration on education. And Dr. Upchurch was one of my former professors in psychology, and he asked me to be on this panel today. And I agreed because the topics that we're talking about today are very personal to me. And I would love to share my journey with anyone who is willing to listen. So I'm very excited for today.
Thank you so much for being with us. All right. And Dr. Greer.
Hey, how's everybody doing? So I just want to say first, I'm here by way of the great Dr. Upchurch. I think that we're all referencing. He's been a great mentor of mine, and Miss Price and Miss Spite and Mr. Johnson. You know, the family and I are still grieving our 11 years of being in Nashville and not being able to still remain in Nashville because of the residency pulling me away here to Ohio, to Wright State, and now I'm here at The Ohio State as a psychologist. But Dr. Upchurch has been a great mentor of mine from day one when we met, probably a touch over a decade ago. And so, you know, I'm still learning and earning and just under his wing, as it sounds like some of us are. And so it's just a blessing to be with you all here, coming to you from The Ohio State University.
The Ohio State. I heard that so many times at Alabama A&M. Dr. Bennett graduated from Ohio State, and she always stressed that the Ohio State. Okay, well, I'm gonna share a little bit about myself, and then I'm gonna have none other than Jeff Majors share a little bit with us. Just share who you are and what you're gonna bring to the table this evening, and then we're gonna start. But before I do that, I will tell you that we are on social media, so please check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Okay, so we're out there. There's no reason for you not to know who Positivity Plus is, because we want to make sure that we serve our community. I am Lapia Guyan Simmons. I have my associate's license in counseling. Before I became a therapist, I worked in the legal field for over 15. So I have enjoyed, this transition, but I still do my two passions every day. So I work in probate court. I'm the person that will send individuals to our state hospitals if they have gotten to a place of decompensation
I hear it now.
struggling.
There you go.
I'm
Okay,
the person that navigates that in the court system and with our hospitals, and I really enjoy it. But over the years, I've had the opportunity to work in our crisis stabilization units as a weekend therapist. I've also facilitated anger management and domestic violence groups. And so, like right now, you guys have probably seen Johnny Depp on TV. A lot of times you don't hear men talking about domestic violence, but I will tell you that it is real and it does happen. And they are quote unquote victims, just as women can be victims. But I also like to say they're victors. Because anyone can overcome the things, the tragedies that, life sometimes brings us. I think the most rewarding thing, besides being a coach on positivity, that I've had the pleasure of doing is working with youth. And I've also served as a guardian ad litem in North Carolina. So, being a therapist is rewarding, and I get to do that every day. So I would tell anyone, do what you love. I would do it and not get paid. And that speaks volumes. Growing up, I would always hear people say, well, you might not, what you love might not pay you. But I believe that regardless of what the pay looks like, is seeing the difference that it makes in other people's lives. And I'm blessed, not trying to impose religion, but I'm very blessed. And so I'm thankful to be able to assist individuals in making positive change in their life. And that's what Positivity Plus is all about. So again, I'm so glad that all of you are here. And now, Mr. Majors, welcome.
It's a pleasure. It's a blessing to be here with you this evening. Hold on, let me see. Do I have, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? All right, let's try that again.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Blessing. It's a blessing to be with this incredible panel of so many great scholars and great people, and so many great people on the planet is making a difference in our world today.
Thank you. So let me tell you, whether you know it or not, I did say that I'm from North Carolina, Mr. Majors, and it's so funny when LaWanza emailed and said, hey, I have a special guest, and she said it was Jeff Majors. I was like, hey, I know him. I have been to the Women's Empowerment Expo every year since it began, with the exception of the last couple of years, but I was happy to see, it's kind of full circle, how life happens, guys. You can have dreams.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I want to do is what I'm doing right now. Who knew that one day I wouldn't just be listening to Jeff Majors perform, but he will be on a panel and I will be the moderator. So you never know what life has for you. It's a small world. It's big, but it's small.
I'm honored. I'm honored, and I thank God for how the Lord has taken your road, your journey, and so many other great young men and women are doing what they're supposed to do because they're following their dream, they're following their passion. And I think that's what we really want to be able to, be able to bring out this evening, how to do that, how to continue to be encouraged to do that, So I'm really, again, I'm humbled that I was asked to be a part of this panel tonight.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay, well, we're going to get started, guys. All right, so this is the first question. All right. The conversation on mental health is still seen as taboo. What do you believe is the basis of this frame of thought? And what can we do to change the narrative for future generations? Who wants to start? Any of the panelists? Would you like to start, Dr. Greer? Oh, I see Havlin. Go ahead.
I can start. So the question is, why is this conversation still taboo and what can we do to change it?
Yes.
I personally believe that the conversation is taboo because I think a lot of our generation is a little bit out of touch with their feelings. So we have a difficult time identifying, when we have an issue, when that issue is big enough for us to seek help outside of ourselves. And then it can be very intimidating to ask for help because no one is having these conversations. So I think that it's taboo because, in ourselves, we're having a difficult time just acknowledging these feelings. And what we can do to change it, I think, is to be honest with ourselves about what we're experiencing. If we continue to try to act like everything is fine and keep going through our lives and just pushing forward, then obviously we'll never take time to have these conversations. And there's actually a poem that says, when we let our light shine, we give other people permission to do the same. So I think by being honest about what you're feeling, it allows for those conversations to open up for other people.
That's good. That's good. And
I think.
Go ahead, Jada.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that is an absolutely amazing point. I think just as a Black woman, when I observe my personal community, I think, these conversations have been viewed as taboo because of just the culture, the generations prior to us that have not made it something that's okay to speak about. Growing up, oftentimes I would hear in different families and even in my own family, and we breaking that culture, but it's been the culture of what happens in this house, stays in this house. And a lot of times, different things that we experience emotionally, we're not able to have open dialogues and just feel comfortable to share and be vulnerable. So I think, creating vulnerable spaces, just opportunities for us to share our personal stories, for us to encourage somebody and be like, hey, you're not alone. Like, I've been where you are, I've been low, I've been depressed, I've been, diagnosed with this or that. And that diagnosis has helped me, not to live in a label, but to know how to treat those different things that come with it. And so I think just having open forums, open dialogues, and ultimately just being vulnerable, creating trust, I think is very important in that space. So I'm just happy.
So let me ask the question, and let me just ask the question again. The question is why that mental health is still seen as taboo. Why is that? And also, what can we do to change that narrative? But before we move to the next panelist, what you ladies said is very profound. I think that, yes, for generations, it's been something that we handle in the home. But the reality is that while we love our families, it's nothing wrong with seeking outside help, because sometimes we're closed-minded and we're not aware of what it takes to get to the next level. And I think recently, if you guys see that there are a lot of people who they did not feel like they had anyone to speak to. I want you to know that people are here. We are trained to provide you service. And Jada, as you said, the diagnosis, that's not who you are. Once you know what your diagnosis is, then you start living your best life, because you're going to learn, what does it mean to be diagnosed with schizophrenia? What does it mean to have a bipolar disorder? That doesn't mean that's who you are. That's a component. You have an opportunity to continue to build on you. Learn how to, improve those things. Learn how to utilize your coping. Can everyone mute if you're not speaking, if you don't mind muting? Hear some background. Okay, so all right. But let's continue this conversation, because you guys are hitting it on the nail. But it is important, to speak up. Don't be silent about what's going on in your life. And it doesn't matter how old you are. I've had little children in my office whose parents have been through divorces, 6, 7, 8 years old. And then I have worked with adults in their 60s who are still dealing with the trauma that they sustained as children. So anytime is a great time to begin your mental health, journey, to making some positive changes. So you guys are doing a great job of responding to this. All right, who's next?
I'll speak.
Okay.
I just returned from the Virgin Islands where I was the warden on the island of St. Thomas. And that particular institution, also in St. Croix, they're under what's called a consent decree. And that's when the federal government steps in and they began to take control basically of monitoring your operations. One of the issues that have kept the Virgin Islands in this consent decree for over 30 years was their lack of concern or dealing with the mentally ill. The mentally ill, they are the ones who end up coming back to prison because, number one, most people don't understand that they have an issue. Number two, trauma is part of that also. And, being able to connect with a person like that and just not see them as being weird, but yet talking to them and trying to seek to understand them, it opens a pathway to them trying to understand themselves. So, this is very important, particularly in college. I've received a number of articles from Ms. Carrie Metz, who is part of Path Positivity, and she has been sending out reference material regarding female athletes who've committed suicide, other individuals who've had mental type of stressors. And it's nothing to be embarrassed about, because, in order for us to live and move forward, we have to be able to accept the reality of what's going on in our life, so we can understand others. So that's why I find that very important, Ms. Lupia and Ms. Spate as well.
And also to add, working in probate court, a lot of times I would hear someone say, well, they should be in jail. It's unfortunate because our, inmates, which is the term that's used a lot of times, they're not always afforded the proper medication and the proper care while they're
Absolutely.
there. So no, jail and prison is not always the best place because they're not getting the treatment, the adequate treatment that they need. Then they're going to continue to decompensate. And basically what that means is they're going to continue to be on a decline. But if you can get to the root of the issue, the root of the trauma, then we can begin to work on that. And you'd be amazed at how life-changing it can be when a person is, going to therapy on a regular and is taking the right regimen of medication. So thank you so much for bringing that point up. Okay, Dr. Greer.
Yes, one thing I would say there, when we triage and bring people into our counseling center, because I'm in the University Counseling Center here at Ohio State, we ask them about their social support. So with that, it's like us ushering our family members, our friends to say, hey, that's okay if everyone doesn't necessarily need mental health treatment, if they don't need therapy, but what about life coaching? What about, different things of that nature, tutoring, with me I'm in private practice, but my day job here is in the counseling center, and OSU being my fourth university counseling center outside of Tennessee State and Fisk and Wright State. And so having those social supports to help each other to not be scared to see ourselves, not be scared to have that introspection, to look into ourselves, as my bishop kind of taught us, that intimacy, that in to me to see, looking in toward to self is kind of one of those things I would say. And I know it's hard. I know it can be complex for us to want to look at and see ourselves, but how else will we deal with it? And so, that's why we should do more community outreach, things of that nature to keep bringing them in, and knock away some more of that stigma and that taboo as the days and the weeks and the years go by. And it sounds like everyone here is signed up for it. So I'm definitely glad that I'm here, and that's what we're about.
Yeah, Dr. Greer, if I could add in, I agree 100% with what you're saying. I'm a military veteran. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress syndrome, and this came after 4 marriages where I divorced 4 women. I had no clue that I had this type of, I call it a virus, if you will, operating within my psyche until I had the opportunity to look at myself. And once I realized that, I said, in order to provide or present myself or the best version of myself, I've got to take care of myself. And I entered into the VA, and I was able to address this issue. And, to this very day, I believe it's so very important for us to be real with ourselves. There's no embarrassment at all. In order for us to live our best life, we have to be able to take care of our psyche and ourselves. So there's no embarrassment to mental health or even the spectrum of it. This helps us help others, because that's what this is all about, Dr. Griff.
Amazing. The at all in that manner, Mr. Johnson, it did it for me.
And thank you for your service as well, Mr. Johnson. And this is the thing, guys. While facilitating anger management, I will never forget I had a veteran to come in, and I'm just being honest. I like reality therapy. You could use any theory that you want. And, we all have, some of us might like Carl Rogers, whomever, your person is, but reality, because my thing is, this is, like you said, this is who I am. And if there's some flaws that I have, that's okay. I need to, one, acknowledge them, and then utilize the tools that I have so that I can improve. No one's asking any of us to be perfect, but be the best version of you that you can be. And what that gentleman did was he went back to the VA and started talking about the anger management group. And he sent me about 15 to 20 veterans. And they all wanted, they said, I want what you did for him. And I laughed, but in retrospect, I have a stepfather who is a veteran. And I'm gonna be honest, I went to those meetings with him because, veterans, you guys have a lot of resources, which we don't necessarily have in our communities, but you do have resources if you utilize them. And in those counseling, they actually had a counseling session for the wives, and they had a counseling session for the husbands. And when I sat in, this is before I had my master's in counseling, but I was amazed to hear the women and what they went through. But then sitting in with my stepfather and listening to them and the trauma and the things that they saw, when they were in the Middle East, etc., I don't know that I could come back home and be Lapia, So sometimes we have to think beyond ourselves when we have family members who are struggling with things, because at the end of the day, they will, back to Dr. Greer, that family support system, who is there. And so I also want to echo, one of the services that we provide as counselors is psychoeducation. And that's where we talk to families about, what does this diagnosis mean? And these are the signs and symptoms. And if this happens, here are some suggestions as to things that you can do. Instead of saying, well, did you take your medication today? You might say, you know what? I have the worst migraine ever. I need to go and take my medicine. Did you already take yours? Bring it up to them in a way that it doesn't make them feel like hey, Johnny, did you take your medicine? Johnny, we've been waiting all day. Your attitude is getting worse. You're starting to hear voices. You have to kind of bring it to them in a way that they're like, hey, this is my team. Kind of back to that phone tree in elementary school and middle school, where you could call someone if you missed an assignment. Same thing applies in counseling. You got to have people that you can call that's going to back you up and encourage you when you're going through a difficult time. All right, Mr. Majors, do you have anything to add?
First of all, I am just filling up with the care, the sensitivity, the thoughtfulness, what lies within inside of our own community, and just to share with what I do outside of those who may not know. I use music as a therapy for not just my audience, but also I go into prisons and hospitals, be able to use music therapy as a form of healing. And when I go into the whole science of music, where it came from, how it's created, how it comes through you, and how we can use it as a tool. And I try to encourage therapists to, to tap into how to use music as a tool, because there's a song for everyone.
Yes.
There is an experience that happens inside of a song that happens to each and every last one of us. And we have to be able to go inside that, as the scripture says, that very still small voice that resonates out of silence, and tapping into that silence and tapping into those things that can be a healing for people. And this is what I'm hearing tonight. And I just want to applaud, all the practitioners, those who are, sharing their life and sharing their gifts, to the community. And it's encouraging for those who may not know that this is going on, because a lot of times you can be a therapist out there and feel like, you out in the world all by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the case. And of course, this forum tonight is also expressing, how there are so many others that are sharing what you do each and every day. You're not alone. To be encouraged, to go deeper, to climb up higher, to be the best instrument of God that you can possibly be, in this platform. And I know we have quite an agenda to go down this list, and I'm really excited about seeing your future, your ongoing questions and those things that you want to share with us tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you shared that with us. When we talk about, tools that you can utilize, your coping skills, yes, music is number one. I would tell you as a professional, and we have to say this, Dr. Greer, as counselors, I'm not trying to impose religion, but one of my songs is Jireh. I don't know if you guys have heard Elevation Worship, but when I tell you, if work is stressful, and work is stressful a lot of times because it's a high stress job, career. But there's a lot of things that happen that are out of my control, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I think one day, a few months ago, I listened to that song 15 times. It was just repeat. And I just got it in my spirit. And that's what he's talking about. Get that song in your spirit. Because see, the thing is, you want to change your atmosphere. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you're growing up in a household where there's a lot of domestic violence. You've got to get yourself in a space, and I know this from experience. Get yourself in a space, get yourself in an activity that removes you from that, and that is a safe place. And so you can get a song, and that song can put you in a safe zone. And it can change. Doesn't matter what's going on outside. But what's going on within you in that minute is going to shift the atmosphere. So when I listen to Jireh, it shifts my atmosphere. I don't care what anybody else's attitude is about life. Mine is positive. So that is an amazing tip. And I implore you guys to utilize that. Music therapy, even watching movies, believe it or not. I like to recommend, when I work with children, Antoine Fisher story. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but oh my God, it is amazing. And it just, you can see the trauma that he went through and how it followed him into his career. But then Denzel Washington shifted that atmosphere, by being that person that pushed him into greatness. And he also had to play a part in that. So that's the other piece of therapy, is that we can provide you the tool, but you got to play your part. Okay. It's like chess and checkers. You got to figure out, what move do I want to make so that I can be a winner. And it can happen for you. I am seeing your questions in the chat. I want you to continue putting those questions there, because we are going to answer them. But yes, a lot of times family members will make you feel like you have to answer them right then. And what I would say before we move to the next question is this: it doesn't matter how old you are. You can always tell someone respectfully, now is not a good time. Give me some time. And when I'm in a better space, I'll be able to share with you what I'm going through. And so that's another part of you standing up for yourself. Okay. It's nothing wrong. As a child, you can do that. You just
Correct.
have to know our parents, and we have to say, and I would tell my clients that, and they would say, well, Mom, right now I'm upset. Give me about 30 minutes so I can calm myself down, utilize my coping skills, so then I can talk to you in a respectful manner. Guess what? We can do that as adults. That's the difference between you sending an email that can get you fired and you send an email that will get you promoted, if you know what I'm saying. So you always want to take that time, collect your thoughts, get yourself together, and then respond to people. And sometimes it can be difficult when you feel like somebody is attacking you. So I did see your questions. So you guys keep right on pitting those questions up, and we will get to those, okay? All right, so here's the next question. What is the most challenging thing that you experienced while in college? I'm going to share, and then we're going to open it up to the panelists. When I was in my sophomore year in college, nope, not my sophomore year, my junior year in college, I actually decided that I was going to take a few more classes so that I could graduate with a double major. And so I went to Greenville and went to Pitt Community that summer. That summer, I met this young man who I thought was a really nice guy. And so it takes a lot for me to invite somebody over. So my cousin was like, yeah, you can invite him over. So I invited the guy over. He ate with me and my cousins. And, we stayed, we go to the movies and stuff. And then this one particular day, he kept saying, well, is your cousin home today? And I'm like, yeah, she's home, but I think she's going to the movies with her boyfriend later. And so he says, well, can we have a movie night? And I'm like, sure, of course. And so we had that movie night, and I ended up being raped. And so I can tell you that, of course, you feel like, oh my God, this is my fault because I shouldn't have invited him over here. This is my fault because maybe I should have just met him at, a movie theater, and maybe this wouldn't have happened. And I would tell you that it was difficult to share that with my family. It was difficult as a young woman, because you don't know if this person if you've contracted a STD, which we'll talk about later. You don't know if you're pregnant. You don't know what's going on. And you had to think, when I was in college, I was a student, I was in Who's Who. I was in all the clubs, I was a leader. And when I went back to school, I was not the same person for quite some time. And I shared it finally with one of my friends. And what shifted for me was that she prayed with me. We prayed in her Monte Carlo in the parking lot and at school. And it shifted my atmosphere. And so for me, now, today, I can talk about it because it's something that I grew through. While it was a tragedy, I still grew through it. So I want to tell anyone that's listening right now that is a survivor of rape, that I understand, or anyone that's been through something tragic, I understand that when you're in school, trying to navigate school, and then life happens, you may not want to write your papers. You may not be making A's and B's anymore. You may make an F. I got my first F in college that semester, and everything else was an A. And do you want to know what I got an F in? Religion. How did it happen? How it happened was because that's the place that I was in at that time, and that's real. But there was a shift. And that's what I look for as a therapist in my clients, is when they have that positive shift that takes them to the next level. So I took what happened to me that could have been tragic, that could have left me in a place that I didn't come back from. But look what I'm doing today. And you can look at me, you wouldn't know that if I didn't tell you. But I can tell you that it is, you have to choose to be happy. You make that happen for yourself. Choose to pick people and have people in your life, like my friend who saw that I was in a crisis. And she said, Lakia, what's going on? You can tell me. So when someone put in the chat, how do you talk to people, about these type of things? These things are personal. You got to have those people that have your back. And that is what happened. That's something that I experienced when I was in school. I ended up, pulling through, pulling my grades up, and I finished strong. But it hit me for a moment. And so I always tell, people, hey, if I only fail one class, I'm really not tripping about that. I'm an overachiever. Life happens. It's about how do you recover? Okay. I want you guys to learn how you recover is everything. So I recovered from that, and whatever you have going on, you can too recover. Okay. All right.
May I add to that if I can? Please?
Of course.
I appreciate your being authentic and transparent with what you shared because it's so very important. But I just wanted to add, Mr. Majors, yes, definitely with the music, because there's so much healing in music, the lyrics and the sounds. But trauma just doesn't have to be for a veteran who has experienced war and crisis of that nature. Trauma could be watching your best friend get killed right in front of you, or your dog walking across the street and getting splattered, or your home being burned. These type of occurrences in our life can really have an adverse impact on us, particularly when we don't have anyone to talk to. And it's very important that we have someone in our life that we can talk to. Oftentimes I used to agree with this cliche, hello, how you doing today? Oh, I'm not going to complain because no one will listen. And one day it hit me. I said, that's a lie. Because most people have a friend. They have someone who will listen to them, not judge them, actively listen to them and give them what they need, if it's just an ear or if they ask an opinion. So I really encourage you all to look at life that way. I was molested as a child at the age of 5 by a family member. I never spoke about it until I was 50 years old, and that happened to take place inside of a men's retreat. And there's a story, or a cliche is never tell a story while you're bleeding. And what that means is this: if you have not reconciled with whatever the pain is within you, don't stand in front of a group or mass and try to share it because you will break down. But what I learned from that was that I was okay, and that I did not, through the grace of God, turn out to be a deviant, because people who are traumatized, they sometimes act out their trauma on others. So I encourage everyone to find that person you can talk to and get that off of you. When you get it up and out, it's like lancing a wound. It's pus. It's cleansing you. So I encourage you all, particularly in college, don't think you know it all, because you don't. Listen, seek out that wisdom, that sage, that person who will give you advice that's meaningful and helpful. That's all I have to say, Ms. Lupia.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to open this up to the rest of you guys, the panelists. If you guys would like to share with us something that you experienced while in school.
Yes, thank you so much for being so transparent. Just Dr. Simmons and even Mr. Johnson, I really appreciate that. I think it's very important that, we all just be bold about what it is that we have been through and what, we have overcome, because it's so important to see that, I think for me, my most challenging experience while I was in college was my sophomore year. I came to school at 17, so I grew up in a very close, tight-knit family, and I was always the youngest up until about 5 years ago. Now I have a little sister, but it was very, very difficult for me coming all the way from Buffalo, New York, relocating to Nashville, a brand new city. I had never been there. I didn't know anything about it, and so that was challenging for me. I think we don't always understand how big of an adjustment it is to go from, high school to college. Like now we have to deal with, paying for things on our own. We have a little bit of support, but sometimes, your family is paying to get you through school. So, just those little things that, you don't realize that you need. Now those responsibilities are on you. And so I remember it was a very tough time. I was just having some difficulty adjusting. And, there were a lot of different things going on. It was midterms. I was struggling in my music theory class. I'm a music major. And if you know anything about music, music theory, whoo, it'll bring you through the ringer. Oh, but we praise God for victory. But yes, I was really going through it. And so it led to my being institutionalized in a mental health facility. But I thank God for the counseling center at Fisk University. I was ready to take my own life, y'all. I literally had pills in my hand, and I just decided that, I didn't have the zeal to keep going. My parents had just divorced, I failed to mention, and I was a family girl. And so that really hit home for me. That was hard. As you said, Dr. Simmons, divorce does something nasty to a family. And so I experienced that firsthand. And yeah, I just thank God for those resources. I thank God for just finding the tenacity, the will. What you said was so powerful, choosing joy, the power of the positive mind. I think what has really helped me in that time was holding fast to my faith. Even in the lowest of lows, that was when God proved. And, I'm not a healthcare professional, but I, of course, don't want to impose, my own religious beliefs, but I can't help but to talk about Jesus because he's been good to me. And I think that that's what has really, really helped me. So I just encourage anybody that's going through depression, anybody that has suicidal thoughts, anybody, that cuts, that's anxious, that has been a victim or a victor, I should say, of bullying. Just know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and the power of life and death is in your tongue. So as long as you just hold fast to what you know to be true, maybe your foundation is not what my foundation is, but whatever your foundation is, in the most difficult times, hold fast to what you know to be true. And the Lord, I will tell you, if you don't know, try him, because he won't fail you, boo. He won't fail you. So I just thank God for bringing me through that difficult experience.
Wow, Jada, that is so powerful. I have a question though.
Absolutely.
And I hear you. Faith is a big part of that. But what was that moment? Because there's someone that may be listening or may listen later, because this is going to be on our Facebook page. But what was the moment that made you say, I'm going to keep pushing because I want more. I want to keep pushing because I want to live? Because that's the key, is that a lot of people don't think about the today. They're thinking about that situation they're in currently, but not about what can happen a year from now, 2 years from now.
For me, that moment, I remember vividly. I was actually in Shane Hall. I was in my dorm and I had just failed a midterm. And so I'm just like, man, I'm like you, I was an overachiever, and I'm like, I don't see how there's any hope that can come from this. There's already so much turmoil in my personal life, my finances. I don't have toiletries. I don't have, certain things that I need. And I'm just feeling like I'm out here. But for me, that moment, there was a voice that I heard that spoke to me, and I believe it was the voice of the Lord that was just like, this is not how your life is supposed to end. And I just began to think about all of the things, that I have already have been blessed to accomplish and things that I have blessed to do. And I just started thinking like, wow, if I can make it through that, if I can make it to, these different opportunities to audition for The Voice, to, be on the Steve Harvey show, like God, he can bring me. I was nervous during those times and he got me through it. So I know that there is nothing too difficult. And also, just getting to the point where I was at the mental health facility, and they literally, if you've ever been there, that they take everything from you, all of your belongings, for your own safety, so that you don't harm yourself. And when I got there, I realized like, wow, like, this is where I am in my life. And so for me, that was rock bottom. I never imagined being in that situation. But as I began to think, I'm just like, my faith tells me that I have, the power, as I said, of life and death in my tongue. And, I heard that voice saying, this is not my end. So I've got to go get help. I've got to go to the counseling center. And thankfully, the counseling center was not far from my dorm at all. But, I think for me, it was definitely just remembering the things that God had brought me through prior to that. And so that's what gave me hope. So just keep pushing. You got this. Maintain a positive mind. Choose joy. It's so much easier to say than to actually do, but you have the power to do it. You can do all things through God who gives you strength. So
That's true. Miss Spade, if I could just add to that, what we toss out into the universe comes back towards us.
Oh, yes.
If we're tossing out negativity, woe is me, I can't make it, that's what the universe will give back to us. But like Miss Spade was saying, when you can hunker down and you can understand your own reality and you embrace your faith, which is very strong, there's nothing that you can't do because we are a resilient people. And I'm not going to get off into slavery or anything like that, but I would just like to say this, that where we are today as a people is due to resiliency. If no one, hunkered down and say, I'm going to make it through this, I'm going to teach the others how to make it through this, we wouldn't be where we are today. So Ms. Spade, I'd just like to acknowledge that, with you and your testimony as well.
Thank you so much, Jada. Haviland, do you have anything to add?
Well, I kind of have my own story a little. So my freshman year, when I came out to Langston, it's 8 hours from where I'm from in Illinois, I was getting sick. So throughout my life, over a course of probably about 5 years, I would have these times where I would like pass out. And I didn't know why I was passing out. So we thought it was dehydration. I had a lot of tests done. We had no idea, what it was. And so the last time that I passed out, somehow or another, we found out that I had reactive hypoglycemia. And when I found that out, it was just a very scary time for me, because if you've ever been sick before, one, it's difficult to be sick, but it's also scary when you don't know how to control it. And I'm not on any type of medication. I control it just simply through what I eat. So I had to change my entire diet around. And then I also, for a little period of time, they didn't know exactly what was wrong. So it was like a couple weeks before I was supposed to go back for my spring semester of school. And then I was still at the doctor like every other day trying to figure out what exactly was wrong with me. And I remember I just was so afraid all the time. I started having to get these CAT scans, and it actually came back that I had tumors. And at the time we didn't know, if they were going to be dangerous or not. So it was a lot going on. And I was 2 weeks away from leaving to go back to school my spring semester of my freshman year. And I just remember one day I just was like, God, I don't know why I'm experiencing this right now, but it just reminded me of Job in the Bible, because he lost everything. God had to get him in a place where he couldn't do anything but depend on him. And I just kept praying and I just kept praying. And I just said, God, give me a Job spirit. Give me a Job spirit. Give me a Job spirit. Whatever I'm going through, whatever I'm experiencing this, let me seek you. Let me understand why I'm experiencing this. And for me, I kid you not, after I prayed that prayer, the next day, it looks like I lost my Zoom. I'm sorry.
No,
the next day, the doctors called me and they were like, we can get you in before you go to school. And before I went to school, I found out everything that was wrong with me. I found out that I was healthy. And it was still very scary for me, because I started to notice these different things. For a long time, I was afraid to be like out in the sun, because I noticed when my blood sugar would get low, I would get very hot. So I didn't want to be anywhere I was already going to be hot, because I was like, well, I'm not going to know what's going on. So it became a life adjustment for me. But I did have to choose to, put myself out there and do things that made me nervous and made me uncomfortable, because especially with COVID, that same semester, we ended up coming home from COVID. So it was very easy to stay in the house and stay to myself and just be on the safe side. I'm like, if I stay home and I pass out, I'm here with my family, I'll be okay. But I had to say, no, you got to go places alone. You have to do this, you have to do that, and just push myself and be uncomfortable. That's the only way you can grow doing anything. But I had to learn to be uncomfortable so that I could get on the other side of it and see, you know, it's okay. I'm okay. It's not as bad as I thought, and I can control it.
Ooh, powerful, powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You know, push until something happens. You guys get, work hard, do what you have to do for yourself to get to the other side. Like that is so powerful. Helen. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right, what about Miss Naomi?
Hi, I want to thank you all for being so transparent and sharing your stories. It's for a lot of people, it's so hard to talk and speak up. I know I'm one of those people. When things happen, life it's hard to speak up sometimes, and it just feel like you physically cannot speak when some people like want to ask you questions and you feel interrogated, and it's just hard to speak. But I started college when I was 17 too, so I was really young, and I come from a family of like 8 people, and I'm the middle child of 5. So we grew up in a very like strict and sheltered household. So I've never been out of the state. I'm from Tennessee, Tennessee, very small city, and I barely got to get out the house a lot. It was straight school and home. But my grades were always great. I was always an A and B student. And coming to college, it was so different. Like, it was not anything that anybody told me it would be. But everybody's experience is different. For me, my biggest fear in college is not knowing what's gonna happen next. I don't know if I'm gonna eat the next day because the cat food is bad and I have to go buy something every day. I have to go buy food every day. I don't know how my bank account is gonna be set up. Also from experiences that I've dealt with in the past, I became very, very like promiscuous. And because I was so sheltered at home, I never got a chance to go out and experience things for myself. So when I got to college, being young and dumb, I just wanted to experience things for myself. And I got into some very, very bad situations with guys on campus. A month into my freshman year, I got into a relationship with a guy, and I didn't know that he was very narcissistic and manipulative, and he was very, very abusive. And we had an incident on campus that happened. He pushed me down. We had an argument. He pushed me down to the ground, and campus security saw it from across the street. So he came running over, and it was hard. Like, I felt like nothing was happening. He didn't get kicked out of school. He stayed in school. I felt very, very afraid. And when I wanted to ask and speak up for help, I tried, and I just felt like no one really wanted to listen to me. It was very hard. And then, so after that happened, can you ask me, okay? I feel like it's been
over there, Naomi?
Okay, I'm sorry, my connection went out for a second. But I got involved with a bunch of guys just doing any and everything, and I felt so lost. I didn't know what to do, where to go. I felt like my prayers wasn't working. I feel like I prayed every single night for a sign to help me going through what I'm going through. And it felt like every single day things just got worse. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do next. And then I ended up, from doing what I was doing, I ended up getting 2 STDs, and thank God they were curable. But after that happened, it was like a wake up call for me. It was a real wake up call. Like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. But it was a very difficult moment for me. And now, like, I can honestly say every single semester that I've been in, all 3 semesters were just terrible. I feel like I wanted to drop out so many times. There was just so much stuff going on in my school at Fisk University. I love Fisk University, don't get me wrong. It really helped me to know who I am today and figure out what I want to do in my life. I know exactly what I want to do in my life. And sometimes I just feel like I can't do it because of what happened to me. I feel so afraid to just speak up to people. I feel afraid to speak to men. I feel like Black men really tore me down. And I was really in a terrible place because of our Black men. And I feel like that is very hard. And my father really, it was hard. That's why I tried to look for in my father and other men, and it was not the, yes.
Thank you so much for opening up and sharing with us. I hope that you guys heard everything that she said. And this is
Hello, can you?
yeah, we can hear you. This is the thing about forums like this.
I think my Zoom is messing up terribly.
You're okay, Naomi. But this is what I would say before we go to the next panelist and continue.
1 second. I think it's a lag on my end.
It is.
But yeah, it was very difficult. I'm really finding myself more now. Becoming a senior is getting a lot easier because my family is helping a lot more. They know what happened to me now, and they're just on my side. And I do have a new guy that's in my life that's really respectful of me and showing me the correct way to be treated as a woman, as a Black woman. I'm sorry, Black woman, but it really is a statistic in this world. So I'm just really praying that everybody out there can speak up, because it was very hard to say what I said today to a bunch of strangers that I don't know, but I really feel safe in this space that we're speaking in. So I want to thank you all for letting me speak openly.
Thank you, and we appreciate it. And what I was going to say is that a lot of times people would say, why did you share that? You know, people are going to take this information and share it with everyone. And so my thing is, if I can just help inspire one person, just one, because I can't help if you're in a space where you can't receive the message. It's my job to deliver it. And so, Naomi, what I would say to you and any other individual, young lady that is experiencing it, because I heard a lot of things that she said. If you guys give me just a second to unpack this real quick. First of all, going off to college, and you heard this also from Jada and Haviland, when you leave home and you go to a new place, it is a huge transition. And so, yes, we struggle with how are we going to pay for this and how are we going to pay for that. So our high school students that are on tonight and parents, it is important that you all just work collectively as a team. The best thing that happened to me when I was in undergrad was that I was able to get a job study. And that opened me up to be able to have money coming in, even though my family wasn't always able to send money. And so it's going to be important that you associate yourself with individuals who want to be successful. It's easy to get in with the bad crowd, but it's hard to get in with the good crowd, Because see, those people, they don't have time for the shenanigans. They're serious about getting their schoolwork done. And those are the people who are going somewhere. The individuals that are making the bad decision, it's not to say that they won't make it. It's going to take them a little longer because they're still trying to figure things out. And so what I would say, I think is important when you talk about navigating relationships is that when you go to college, you're going to learn who you are, but you got to think you have all of these hundreds of thousands of students who are, you're impressionable. So you're looking at Jane and saying, well, do I need to act like her? No, what I'm going to tell you guys is be you. Figure out what it is that you want to do, how you want to live your life. Look at successful people. Ask them, how did you make it? How did you get here? How did you overcome the trauma, the bad things that you've experienced? And that's how you start navigating life. But Naomi, life happens to everybody. And so what I heard you say is that you want the individuals who are going to be coming into college to be mindful about, safe practices. If you are going to have sex, you want to make sure that you're being safe. You want to make sure that you know your value so that no one else can devalue you. And sometimes being devalued, that you really learn who you are and whose you are. And then the other piece of that is the thing about college is that you are learning so much on a daily basis that you kind of going to have to shift out the things that are not important. What's most important as you navigate your college career, and I'm speaking like for our high school students, our seniors, for some of you, you may have been a star athlete in high school. Newsflash. If you tear your ACL in school, I'm here to tell you it's not the end of your life. We are all born. I heard Haviland talk about Job. We are all born with gifts. You got to figure out, what are you good at? No, what are you great at? And use that. You could be great at many things. When I was in school, you talk about making money. I used to do hair. Believe it or not, I would do a sew-in. My charge was $40. Okay. We stayed looking fly. That's the term I think we still use. So we always look good. There was a girl down the hall that used to do nails, use every talent. Okay, if somebody needs you to wash clothes, okay, I charge $20 and I'll wash 3 loads. Be strategic as long as it's something that's not going to get you in trouble and you're not going to look back later and say, I shouldn't have done that. But when things happen, Naomi, and life is going to happen, I want to tell you is that you're going to have to learn how to reintroduce yourself to people. People are always going to remember your past. Okay. But you let them know who the new Miss Price is. Okay. Because see, your past is what's going to make you and what is making you the phenomenal young woman, strong woman that you are today. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing it. You opened up a lot of things, all of you guys have, and it's so important. It's empowering because see, there's a young lady right now that may be in high school that's going through some of these things, and it's going to be so paramount that she understands her value.
That's correct. That's true. Ms. Lupia, I must interject if I may, please.
Yes. Go ahead.
I just want to share with that young lady, this was something that was shared with me much later in my life. And it was a doctor, and he told me this. In the military, there's a saying, the way you train is the way you fight. And this doctor told me, he said, I want you to look at what you don't like about the person that you're involved with. Don't look at what you like. Don't look at the fact that they may have money. They may be notoriously known on campus. They have property. Everyone knows them, yada, 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 yada. But what I want you to look at is Mark Anthony Johnson. I want you to look at what you don't like, because it is what you don't like that will tear the relationship down later on. And I took that template and I applied it to everybody, my family as well. Mm-hmm. If there's someone in my life who always has to be right and cannot be objective in communication, that's a problem. If someone disrespects money, that's a problem. If this individual has all these flaws, and yet I'm going to overlook those flaws because I like how he or she looks, that's a problem. Look at what you don't like about a person and align yourself, as Ms. Lupia has stated, align yourself with people who think like you. people who want you to succeed. Because if you align yourself with someone who has no dream or purpose, then you'll not have a dream or purpose. So you continue doing what you're doing, young lady, but also look at what you don't like.
That's good.
That is amazing. May I just add to that thought, Dr. Simmons? I think that is tremendously brave of you.
Yes, you did.
Like, thank you for sharing that. I think, what Dr. Johnson was saying was so powerful in that it is okay to set boundaries. Like, setting boundaries is essential for our mental wellness, and I think that we can apply that to every single relationship, as we are observing the things that we don't like, about our experiences with different people. We have to set up different boundaries, with regards to how we will treat that person and what access they are allowed to have to you, because a person does not have the right to have the same access to you after hurting you that they had prior to hurting you. So I think that that's something that I use in my life, and for anybody else, that, has different experiences or has experienced some traumatic, relationship with someone, know that it is okay. It is more than okay. It is wonderful to set boundaries. So please, please exercise that.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Greer, do you have anything to add? Any experience that you went through while in college?
I'll be brutally honest with you all. I'm sitting here as Brother Major said, and I'm being full as well. I know I could throw more gumbo in that pot, but I'm soaking it up from you all as here. And so I want to be more on the side of giving, maybe tips and skills and things of that nature. But I just want y'all to know I'm here with you. Yeah.
Speaking of tips, what is your advice for students as they navigate through some of these challenges? And, how can they get to that place of overcoming those challenges?
Well, I would definitely say, I appreciate the work in the community and private practice, juvenile justice, but this being my 4th university counseling center, as you can tell, I love the university community setting as well. You college students, you keep me alive and thriving and going. And my oldest is almost right there in college. So let's roll with it, eh? So one thing I say, the more we develop that self-identity and that growth and that development, we can't evolve until we grow, until we develop before we can even grow. And so adjusting and as the young folks say, tap in, tap into those resources. Even the smaller universities have at least at minimum a university counseling center, a student advocacy department, student life and disability services, a student health center. So, be tapping into those things that are available to you and just kind of keep those eyes open, ears to the ground, and I'll say this, in terms of those challenges that we've had. I often say, people, what is your college experience? Instead of throwing all the specific examples, I say, look at the bad boy in a college Spike Lee joint, and that was me. And so that settles it. And so with that being said, I wish I had have known about a thing called mental health well over 20, at this point, 25 years ago, starting college, going through all of the mess. So knowing that the counseling center is there and then journeying our feet in that path. And so I really adorn Miss Jada's story and Miss Naomi's story, because you got yourself to that help you need, albeit voluntarily or involuntarily, you got yourself to these shores. I often tell a first-time student who's seeking treatment, mental health therapy, psychotherapy, however we want to call it. You don't have to be too formal with it. I often tell a first timer, well, I'm so glad you're here. And I'll tell one that is returning, I'll say, I'm so glad you're back. And so things such as not suffering in silence. And so, in a room such as this, I hear everyone pretty much is one that is not one to suffer in silence. But again, those social supports, let's pull those brothers, sisters, mothers, cousins, peers in class, not proselytize, as I heard you earlier, Miss Lupia, trying to push religion or therapy or something onto someone. No, we're not doing that, but we're in our own way. Let me tell you a little something. Let me rap with you a tad. Let me whisper something in your ear. However we say it, formally, informally, slang term, whatever it takes to get the message. And so, let's keep getting it out there and pulling each other in, from a holistic perspective. I'll say that and kind of stop there on that.
That's good. So the next thing, we're going to do 2 more questions, and then we're going to open it up for all of you to start asking questions. So the next thing is going to be, how do we go to our families and say, I need help? What does that look like? What does that sound like? I've seen a few people in the chat that say it's hard, to talk to people about the things that are going on, but how do you do that? Anyone that want to share it, from your perspective of the best ways that you can do that? I have my own ideas, but I'm gonna open it up to you guys first before I say anything.
Well, I hope I'm not being a chatty Cathy today.
You're good. That's what
No, be that, Jada.
Okay, well, I would just like to say, when I realized that I needed to go to the mental health facility to receive that help, I had to make one of the most difficult phone calls, if not the most difficult phone call that I have ever had to make. And that was calling my mom and sharing, what was going on with me. And I think what really helped me during that time was just knowing that your family loves you. Your family is there, to support you prayerfully. If that's I pray that is the support system, but whomever you have in your life, they are in your life because they are destined to be in your life and they love you. So whenever you are, sharing your difficult experience or where you are, always keep that in your mind because it's so easy to feel guilty. I remember when I made my phone call to my mom, I kept apologizing. I'm like, Mommy, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm going through this, but in actuality, she's like, no, I love you. I'm your mama. I'm going to always love you. And I'm here to support you. So just being, recognizing what kind of family you have and also recognizing who is there in your corner to support you, and keeping that in the forefront of your mind that every single person goes through different experiences and we all have challenges, whether it be with our physical health, whether it be, mental or emotional health, whether it be whatever. We all are God's special children. The only thing that makes us different, is what our specialty is. So just keeping your mind that your support system are there to support you. And also, just be honest and be transparent. Whatever you are comfortable with sharing, I do think that, with the proper support, it is important to do so because you'll never be able to seek out those resources if you don't say what's going on. So as much as you are comfortable to share, I definitely think it's important to be totally honest, and as transparent as you can be, as you are comfortable with being with your support system.
We are the sum total of the environment of which we are raised. And what Ms. Bates stated is so very factual. And unfortunately, some families are not the support group. In fact, those families pull us down even more. And one has to recognize that and break that cycle. And like I said before or shared, we need to align ourselves with like-minded individuals. And you may have to actually find you another family. And I don't say that to be negative or pessimistic, but not all of our families have our well-being in mind, particularly if you're trying to better yourself, through education and traveling the path that many of you all have. So if you run into someone, a family member, they don't listen to you. And you know when someone's not interested in your story. Your story is your story. That's what makes who you are. That's what makes who I am. And it's oftentimes that we're able to share that story with someone else that helps pull them out as well. But don't get locked into that family thing because we're just family, because sometimes blood is not good. I'll be quite honest. And we have to accept that, but we have to embrace those who we genuinely feel have our interest at mind and in their heart as well.
That's good. Mr. Majors, do you have anything to add?
I got to pull another plate up right now because this one was getting overran through just through the testimonials, through the facts, and through the experiences of just some wonderful individuals. The one thought that came to my mind was something that my father taught me at a very early age, in a circumstances in a circle like this. And it was very simple. He told me, if you stop to think, you would think to stop.
That's good.
And that was it.
That's good though. I'm gonna borrow that. Anybody else have something to add?
If you stop to think, you would think to stop.
For me, I think, fortunately for me, I have a family and pretty much everyone in my circle. I have a good support system, and I know that they have a good support system, and we're very open with communication. So I think for me, what has helped me to keep those communications open is creating spaces where ahead of time, before I need them, like establishing things. So like me and my sister, when we call each other, we know we're gonna tell the other person something that they're probably gonna say, you shouldn't have done that, and that's not the space that we in right now. We say, hey, don't judge me, but this is what I did. And so she already knows, I just need you to listen right now. Or me and my best friend, we're roommates. So obviously it's difficult to be roommates with your best friend. We spend like 24 hours together. Mm-hmm. So if someone does something that the other doesn't like, we'll say, is this a good time for me to bring up, something that kind of bothered me? If it's not a good time, we say we respect that. And we say, okay, let me know when you're ready to talk. And we come back to each other to discuss those things. I think a lot about having a good support system and being able to maintain a good support system is knowing the capacity that your support system has to support you. Because sometimes we'll try to put so much on other people because we don't want to seek, help from people who are trained in these areas. And we just try to pile it all on our support system. And that can become too much on our support system to carry. These are our friends, these are our family members, not our therapists. And so I think that knowing what your support system can handle, it'll go a long way. I try to call people now before I complain about my crazy life. And I'm like, I need to complain. Like, is this a good time to complain? Or, are you not in the headspace for me to receive this? Because I know personally, I found myself complaining a lot to people as if they didn't have anything going on in their own lives. I'm calling them every day with my problems. And they had to tell me, you can't do that. I'm sorry, but it's beginning to be too much for me. And at first I was very upset. I'm like, what you mean? I can't call you and tell you, ain't you supposed to be there for me? But I did have to learn, like, no, we need to be there for each other. And you can only show up for me how you can show up for me at the time that you're going through whatever, and vice versa.
So I'm glad you brought that up. So everybody's family unit is going to look different. And you're right. Sometimes your friends are your family. Sometimes it could be your next door neighbor is more of a mom or, a father to you than your parents. It happens. But the important thing is that you have a team of people who has your back. When you're talking about what do I do when my families feel like they're overwhelmed, well, you do this wonderful thing. You go to the Apple Store or Google Play and you download Positivity Plus, because we have amazing therapists and coaches that can assist you. The next thing that you can do is you can go to your local mental health center.
Mm-hmm.
and select your own therapist. What I'm saying to you is your mental health, when you get to a certain point, is your responsibility. And sometimes, even as a clinician, I will tell my family and my friends sometimes, and most of my friends are clinicians. They're either doctors, lawyers, or clinicians. That's my crew, or dentists. That's how I roll, right? So what I tell them is, yeah, you know what? This is not a good time, but let me refer you to someone. I don't provide services to my family because they're too close. And that's a boundary that I had to set, because this is the number one thing that I hear as a clinician. You think because you got that master's degree and that license that you got the license to tell me everything about my life? No, having this license and this master's degree, I'm credentialed and I'm qualified to give you quality mental health services if you choose so to listen. So in order to have that space where a person can just be your cousin, they can just be your mom. You want to be able to have those conversations, but some of our relationships are unhealthy. So it is okay to go outside of that, to have someone that is qualified to help you. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, Haviland. And another thing that I would like to say before we go to our last question is that, sometimes it's going to be hard, family, to have your child come to you with something. And so my encouragement is this: listen more than you talk, because it is in listening that you're going to be able to hear their heart, their needs, their wants, their desires. And then you're going to be able to say to them, okay, let me sit with this for a moment and I'll come back to you. You may need to go ask someone for some direction on how to handle them in a delicate manner, because we don't always get a second chance. And so if somebody that you really admire doesn't respond to you in a way that helps you grow, sometimes we feel broken. And so I would encourage you, don't just stop at one person. And I'm saying that because not everyone is going to give you good directives or good advice. So you go until you get quality directives that's going to help you improve your mental health. Okay. And if you're growing up in a home where your family dynamic is not as such that you have that support, I would tell you, I remember from elementary school, we had school counselors. Utilize your school counselors. Okay. Utilize your Boys and Girls Club, utilize FBLA, FHA, the basketball team, your coach, your cheerleading team, because those individuals, they're seeing you, they're seeing your gifts, they should be pouring into you and encouraging you. So if you can't get it from home, there's someone in your community that's a positive person. I stress that. Not trying to, entice you to do criminal things, but they're going to encourage you to do things that are going to help you get to the next level. We've talked tonight, I've heard a lot of people, like even myself, talk about failures. One of the things that my godfather told me when I was in college is that failure is success in reverse. I'll say that to you again. Failure is success in reverse. And I let that, just get in my spirit, because it's so true. Because it's in my failures that am becoming who I've been called to be. And, you just have to learn how to use everything that you have in order to get you to the next level. But before we open it up, this is the last question, because while in college, life is going to happen. Naomi already talked about an experience where the police were brought in. Mark, if you can expound a little bit about criminal justice and our youth, what does that look like? What are the ramifications of getting caught with drugs while you're in school? What happens if you get a DUI? How does that need to be handled? If you can expound on that a little bit, being that you are a warden, if you can give them some insight on that, because what I would tell you, serving as a paralegal for many years, I've seen my fair share of youth. I'm gonna share this story. When I was in college, there was a young lady who was known for being disrespectful to people, and we were at a basketball game, and it was our senior year, and she took things too far, and she got in a fight with someone. That fight cost her the ability to walk across the stage and graduate with us. Her diploma was mailed to her. And of course, you know, everybody had a conversation about what they thought should have happened. Was she right? Was she wrong? And all I can remember was, wow, you worked hard for 4 years. Not even counting, you know, high school and middle and elementary, but you worked so hard these 4 years to get to this point, and you threw it away because somebody said something you didn't like. Now, how could she have handled that in a better way? That's where your coping skills come in at. That's when knowing what your triggers are, learning how to walk away can be the difference in you walking across that stage or leaving in a police vehicle. What I will tell you about that young lady, believe it or not, is that today she is a therapist. Now, don't you think she has some stories to tell her clients? And I am so proud of her because back to Naomi, back to Jada, you know, and even Haviland, when we're talking about medical things that we're dealing with, people are always going to look at you and think, oh, well, that's such and such. She did this, she did that. But when's the last time they've really looked at you and seen your growth? So for me, from colleague to colleague, I'm proud of her because she shifted that atmosphere. She turned things around. And if you will, she flipped it. Okay. So there's opportunity for you guys to flip it. But we want to make sure that you're informed. So Mark, any insight? You're still on mute. Can you hear me, Mark?
Yes, ma'am, I hear you. Listen, people next door to me, so I'm keeping the music down. I'm here.
Okay, so do you have any insight for our high school and college students within regard to the criminal justice system and things that they should be mindful of as they navigate their college careers?
That's so very important because my neighbor next door, he's from New York. He's a police officer. And we both sat down and we both agreed that, you know, our young people don't know how to deal with law enforcement. And it's something that's so very important. You know, I respect Black Lives Matter. I appreciate what it means, et cetera, et cetera. But when you deal with the badge, you must understand that the badge has the authority. There's always a cause and effect to what happens. And we were talking about George Floyd, for example. Now his death was very unfortunate, but believe it or not, there is a cause and effect to what happens with us. And we can't just ignore that. I use an example, for example, I was driving up I-75. I was speeding, no doubt about it. And I saw Officer Friendly over in the tree line kicking up dust because I knew he was coming after me. So I decided that I was going to conduct a social experiment. I pulled over, I stuck my arms out the window, rolled down my window, stuck my arms out, and I wanted to see how he was going to respond. He got out of the vehicle, tipped his Dudley Do-Right hat, walked up to my vehicle. I spoke to him. Hello, sir. How you doing today? He said, fine, may I have your registration and your license? I gave that to him. He went back to his vehicle. He came back to me and said, slow it down, Mr. Johnson. I respected the authority. I don't have to respect the man because most of the time the man is not someone that you can respect. But this is so very important. Had it been another officer and I had the attitude of, look, why you pull me over? Black Lives Matter. I got you on recording. You need to explain to me why you pulled me over. Sir, I need your license and registration. No, I have the right to know why you pulled me over. Right then and there, we have now created a toxic environment. We have to teach our young as well as our interacting and our social intelligence. We have to teach them to understand that, you know, we can get through such situations if we just simply respect the position. And I'm not saying yes or no, sir, or anything of that nature, but this I do believe is that when we respect the badge, that we place ourselves in a better position for dealing with them. And we have to teach our young in the concrete jungle how to do that. Some may not agree with me. We have rights. We should be able to express ourselves. But we don't know nothing about Billy Bob. We don't know anything about this police officer who joined the force, was not psychologically sound, and he's on a power trip. So if I was to give any advice, and that's something that I talk about often, with the youth, when I talk about my bullying workshops, look, you got to be smart. You got to be smart. And that's one of the things that I put so much emphasis on. And my friend over here next door, Mike from New York, that's something that he said he wants to do. He wants to share with youth. This is how you respond to law enforcement, because a lot of our people are dying. All right. But then a lot of our people are setting ourselves up to die. And that's harsh. But this is such a reality. I get tired of seeing young Black men being shot or them shooting themselves because of something that they should not have been doing. So if I had anything to add, and I don't mean to be ugly or nasty, but this is reality. Let's develop our social intelligence, the way in which we interact with other individuals and respond to authority. Ma'am, that's what I have to say.
Thank you. And I would say this from a legal perspective as well. Guys, for a lot of us, we're first generation college students. For some of us, I know there's some return people that have been on our previous town halls. And I know that, this is their first time going to college and they want to change. You have to do the things that are going to help you get to the next level. And everybody's next level is going to look different. But when you have worked so hard to get into college, the last thing that you want to do is put yourself in a compromising situation. So if those things happen, this is my encouragement to you. First of all, call your parents. Make sure you talk to your parents about what's going on. The next thing is, before you speak to any officer, make sure that you have representation. Representation is everything. Okay. Once you have that, even if you have to have a court appointed attorney, it's nothing wrong with it. And yes, if we're being honest, sometimes they're not all the same, but you just need one person to advocate for you. And sometimes that's going to be you. So make sure that when you're hanging out with friends, make sure that's the right crowd. If you go into a situation and it doesn't seem right, know where the exit is. If someone is doing something that's going to compromise you, call an Uber. Okay? We work too hard to get to the place where we are. All right? And then I want to bring up something about, alcoholism, drug abuse. I know a lot of people try things when they're in school, but guys, do you know the onset of schizophrenia? You have to make sure, I want to encourage you to make sure that you are in tune with your mental health. A lot of times people like to self-medicate because of stigma. They don't want to have a diagnosis. They don't want to use psych meds. But using those things in the proper way as prescribed is going to help you get to the next place. And what I always tell my clients is that communicating with your psychiatrist and your therapist is everything. How you feel when you're taking your medication, I need to know that as your clinician, because if there's a problem, we can fix it. Okay. So I just want to encourage everyone. And then the next thing is, when you're in school, sometimes, everybody can't go where you're going. It is okay if you're not still friends with who you came with your freshman year. Okay.
Yep.
It is okay. And then too, financial aid, high school students, make sure by now you should have already filled those things out. If you haven't, get it done. If you guys, a tip, if you're in school right now and you're struggling financially, I'm gonna tell you what I did my freshman year. I applied for every scholarship that my university got. And I ended up being awarded one of those scholarships, and it paid for my 4 years. And I went to North Carolina Wesleyan College, and it was $14,838.35. I will never forget that. But with all the grants and different things that I received, and my guardian angel paying for me to go to school my first year, I just felt compelled. I felt bad about someone helping me. Don't feel bad about somebody helping you, especially when their intentions are to see you grow. So utilize your resources in school, apply for every scholarship that you meet the criteria for, and follow up with them to say, hey, this is Lapia. I just want to know, have you guys made a selection yet? Because I'm a worthy student. So, there are always going to be ways out there for you guys to make it. Okay. So now look, we're going to open it up. It's 8:38. We're going to give us about 20 minutes or so to answer your questions. Okay. So I do see some questions in the chat, but let's start. Who has a question? And one of our, someone from our panelists will answer for you.
Dr. Simmons.
Yes.
I just want to touch base on what you said about the scholarships and the grants. If there are any young people out there listening to what Dr. Simmons said, please take it to heart, but please know that just as hard as you worked to get that scholarship and that grant, do not sit on your laurels and think that the hard work is over. Because once you get comfortable in knowing that, oh, I don't have to do anything because it's paid for, just as easily as you received it, it can be just as easily snatched back. And you will be in the same situation that you were in before. So thank you, Dr. Simmons, for saying that. Because, when I went into school, I had to join the military to get money for school. And the military is not for everyone, but it did wonders for me. But I'm just saying, like what Dr. Simmons said, scholarships, grants, any organizations that you can think of, any community organizations, anything of that nature, you're going to work hard for it, but you got to maintain it if you want to keep it. So don't do anything to jeopardize yourself and think, ooh, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Yes, and it'll be taken away from you in the blink of an eye.
Yes, thank you so much, Carrie. And listen, all of you calling me doctor, I'm just going to say this. Thank you for speaking into my life. My response to that is not yet, but it sounds really good. My Instagram is Dr. Simmons. I'm just
it's on the way. It's on the way.
Yes, ma'am.
But she's right, and Carrie is also part of the positivity family, so thank you so much, Carrie, for that. Another question that I see, it says, do you think that social media has anything to do with mental health being taboo? I would say this. I think that yes, the answer is yes, but this is the problem. We live in a society where people are paying to get a lot of things done, so they're not coming with their authentic self. And so a lot of times you think, I have to look this way, have these type of clothes, drive this type of car to fit in with the social norms. And you do not. It is essential that you learn who you are, what you bring to the table, because that is what sets you apart. Okay. A lot of people, I like nice things, but that doesn't make me. It's my intellect that makes me. It's my heart that makes me. Because at the end of the day, have you been watching the news? There are a lot of celebrities that have been taking their lives, and they have a lot more money than I have in my account right now. So you got to get to the basis of what's really important and being authentic, the authentic you. What does that look like? If you don't like something about yourself, you can fix it, but make sure that it's something that you can live with. There's some things like, weight loss. If you want to be healthy because you have diabetes or high blood pressure, then there's things that you can do to help you. But you got to love yourself first and not worry about what other people think. So I do think social media has a lot to play in it. I don't know why it's not coming to name, but there was a Netflix show that came out when I was working with children, and was it 1,000 Reasons or something? It was basically talking about suicide. I can't think of the name of that. What do you remember that, Haviland?
13 Reasons Why.
13 Reasons Why. And I was like, no, don't watch that. But then I watched it, and so my thing is, let me give you 13 reasons why you should live. Let me give you 13 reasons why you should choose yourself. Because if you're looking at social media, it's going to disappoint you every day.
That's good, Dr. Simmons. May I add to that?
Of course.
I would just like to say, even in our generation, you see that social media is very popular. I think similar to Dr. Simmons, it does have a tremendous influence on how we view mental health. And I think that's why it's so important as people that view mental health as, pivotal to our success in our communities, to speaking about it, having open dialogues. Use social media as a platform. Like, tell your story on social media if you are comfortable, if you are in a place where you can. That's something that I always strive to do, because social media has an immense impact on just the way that we view life. Even subconsciously, we could be scrolling and looking at TikToks, or looking at different pictures. And oftentimes on social media, we see the highlights of everybody's lives, right? We don't see the pitfalls. We don't see the times where they're going through, different challenges, but we always see the victories. So I think that is very important, to use social media as a platform to continue to speak out, which is why if you are not following me, please follow J-Bay Spite, because I do have a Mental Health Monday, but I just want to encourage you to do that, talk about it, and use that as your platform.
That's good. So does anyone else have a question that they want to ask before I go back to the chat? Come on, guys, this is your time. Get all of your questions answered. There's no reason to be shy. This is a safe place.
I have a question for you, Ms. Simmons.
Okay.
Well, anybody can answer, but when we were speaking about talking to family and communicating to family, what if, like, I feel like they are a great support system, but there are times when I feel like I blame myself, because if I say something to them, then I feel like, oh my gosh, if I say this, if I tell them I did this thing, then they'll hate me for it. I feel like that with family and friends sometimes. Like, I have a very, very small group of friends. We've been friends for over 10 years, and we have this thing where we check in on each other every single week. Every Sunday, we check in on each other. And it's like, I don't want to say anything because I feel like they'll hate me for it. I feel like they'll stop being my friends. I feel like my family would just stop supporting me because I did this thing. So in me, I hold myself back from speaking to anyone who I think could help me, because I do trust some people in my life, but I feel like they won't do it anymore. It's a thing of my mind. It stops me so much. And I wonder, like, do you have anything that I could try to hold back from doing that?
So the first thing is positive affirmations. When you get up in the morning, start with "Good morning, gorgeous." Okay. Mary J. Blige, let me tell you, that new song is everything.
Yes, ma'am.
Get up. Good morning, gorgeous. Today is going to be a great day. You are blessed. You are worthy. Talk, when you look tomorrow in the morning, matter of fact, when we get off of the Zoom, you go look yourself in the mirror and say, "Good evening, gorgeous. Naomi, you're going to do great things." Because see, this is the thing. When you don't have anybody else that is there to support you, you got to support yourself. Sometimes you got to pat your own self on the back. And I'm going to tell you this, guys, listen, if you can't be real with your friends and family, then that means that we got to check some things. That means you meet people where they are. And that's why it's okay to have additional support friends. Okay. Don't stop, because the only way I know how to say it is this way. Not everyone is equipped to handle what you have going on. Not everyone is going to be able to feed your soul in a way that's going to allow you to grow. Kind of like plants. My son for Mother's Day gave me a plant. Now I don't have a green thumb. And so I'm racking my brain like, Lord, I don't want to kill this. My baby, he's 18 months. He grew this for me. Right. But what I do is every day I kind of check it. And a friend taught me that How you know when you water a plant when you pick it up and it's real light? That's when you water it. So I said, okay, it's time for me to water this plant. And so then I checked it a couple days later. I said, it's still heavy. And so I need you to learn how to seek your nourishment when you need it from the right people. Okay. And so I would encourage you to make sure you download the app, and I would love to provide coaching to you because you are a phenomenal young lady. And what I'm hearing from you is that I've got to work on my self-confidence. That's what I'm hearing. And once you work on that, there's going to be no stopping you, Ms. Price. Okay.
Thank you so
I
much.
would
And
even add to
I
that.
do. I need to work on myself.
I heard somebody else.
It's me, Erica.
Hey.
I would even add to that, thinking just from a spiritual background, scripture says, whatsoever a man thinketh, so is he. So if I'm not having a positive or a good conversation with myself, whatever I'm thinking about myself is going to manifest itself within me, and it's going to manifest itself in the things around me. So if I'm not having a good conversation, and if I don't believe or think these things that are good about me, everything around me, everything that I touch is going to die. So I have to be mindful of the conversation. I have to be aware of what's coming up for me, because we don't want to get to a place where now we're projecting. Because I have these unhealed areas of my life, I'm projecting these things onto the people closest to me, and they're getting the brunt of it. And now I'm sitting in this space of loneliness and despair. So we have to be mindful of that conversation and what's coming up.
I think that's so good. Even with, if I may say, with the positive affirmation, something that I've learned to do, and this is for anybody that needs to work on, was, as I feel like we all have areas that we need to work on. Sometimes we all got to just remind ourselves that we are it. Okay, we are God's children. We are it. But I have this thing where I do sticky notes. I'll have Post-it notes, and I'll write down, just as you share, you coming from a spiritual aspect, I'll write down certain things that I struggle with, certain areas in my life, where I need help with, I need encouragement or different challenges. And I'll combat those negative things that I have in my mind with the word of God. I'll combat those negative feelings with things that are positive. So to counteract those, oftentimes the low self-esteem and, everything that comes with not feeling confident in ourselves all the time, or, even sometimes feeling guilty. I know that I've struggled with for, different experiences that we've gone through. Combat those negative things with positive affirmations. And whether that's scripture, whether that's African proverbs, whether that's, whatever works best for you, but combating those negative feelings with positive, wherever you are grounded.
Thank you, Jada. Do we have any more questions? I'm trying to read through the chat and respond to everyone. Do know if don't get the opportunity to respond to everything this evening. Before I close this chat out, I will go through and answer every question. And you can also go on to our Facebook page and go to Messenger. If you send a question in Messenger, we'll make sure to get back to you, okay? But does anybody else have a question? Comments?
Well, Lupia, before we leave out today, just on behalf of Positivity Plus, I just want to thank everybody for coming. All the panelists did an amazing job, so we are so thankful to have you guys here today. Lupia, you have been the most amazing moderator through all of these sessions, so we just want to thank you for taking part and volunteering to set all of these things up for us.
Thank you so much, Tara. And also thank you, everyone. This would not be possible if you guys didn't log on and join. And we want to be here to help. Before we log off, are there any graduates that are graduating? Any PhDs, masters, bachelor's degrees, associates, any upcoming graduates? Anybody? All right. Haviland, Jada, anybody else? I can't see everybody. So tell me if you're graduating, where are you graduating from?
Langston University.
All right. Who else?
ULM.
All right. Jada, are you graduating too?
No, ma'am, not yet. I'll be graduating next year. I had a little gap for this tour, but I'm going back to finish.
That's all right. Anybody else graduating? Anybody else? All right. Well, listen. Again, this has been The Corner. I want to say that, Positivity Plus is an amazing app, and it's allowed us to have this platform this evening. I'm going to go to our panelists before we close out, just to give them an opportunity if they have some final remarks they want to make. But guys, the life that we're living, it's up to us to make it what it is every day. And so I want to encourage each and every one of you to keep push until something happens, something positive happens. And just remember, life happens to everybody. You just don't know that it happened to them. So I just want to, just encourage you, and congratulations to all of our graduates. Okay. So I'm going to start with Jeff Majors, and I will say too, make sure I did play some of your music before you came on. And it's so amazing. And so, any closing remarks?
Well, again, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm humbled to be on such a distinguished Zoom that's so meaningful and so needed in our community today. And just a little word of when you talk about the socialization of social media, I use it as a platform for me to share how to control your diet. And your diet is, is so important when it deals with social media. Exactly what kind of diet, what are you taking on? What are you allowing in, voluntarily or involuntary? Who are you letting into your space of thinking, your space of feeling, your space of emotion? And we share a lot of this kind of information in our music therapy sessions that we do have around the country, and wanted to be able to share that again tonight to all the graduates and to all the students, to be very mindful of your diet each and every second that you wake up and before you go to sleep. That's so very important. Thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you again for this platform. And we want to pray that we'll continue, that students from all around the world will be able to join in and be a part of such a growing and fast opportunity for expressing yourselves and to finding answers for yourselves.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dr. Greer, do you have any final remarks?
Yes, ma'am. I just say it's been an honor and a privilege just to sit with you all in space. It's a safe space, feels like a safe haven. People ask me quite often, had a colleague ask me just today, coincidentally, when's the first book coming? People ask me that quite a bit who know me or know enough about me. And so one of the chapters or potential title of it, you could take it if you wish. We'll try to beat each other to the punch, is You Are the Question and the Answer. That is something that comes to me quite often. I am a Nasir Jones, Jay-Z fan, so I'm a Nas fan. But, when he says you are the question and the answer on his Nigger album, that's something that's always stuck out to me since that album came out. It's just always asking yourself, that you are the question Yes, you may have to use your social support, your wise counsel, mama, daddy, sister, brother, cousin, them, our friends, our family, our classmates, our peers, our pastor, all of that. Yet you are still the question and the answer. And as I know we don't name and age drop too often, but as I get ready to turn the big 4-0 this year, you all, and I just come back from my home state of Arkansas and looking where my home house was, and my great grandmother born in 1902, just a generation removed from slavery. I carried out the house at 17 and put her in the coroner's van when she passed, just days short of 100. It's reflections like this as I get ready to turn this 4th decade. I know that hybrid, still young, but moving toward 50 and 60 and all of that. I'm asking myself and telling myself, you know, that anger-filled little boy in the deep South, backwoods of Arkansas, who had to cover the poster, his wall up with a Michael Jordan poster because he was angry. Single mother, all of that. And I'm still trying to answer those questions, you know, and I have questions. And so that's something I implore all of us to do. Don't stop asking questions. I'm not so good. For me, everyone here, I would want you to hear, it's not about a doctor in front of a name. It's what the good shepherd that we're all talking about here has shown me he wants to take me to and through. And so let's keep asking questions and helping others help us answer them, but yet also recognizing that you are the question and the answer, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. That's deep. Catch that now. Catch it in your driveway, as my pastor used to say. Okay. Anyone else from my panel have any closing remarks? Because the thing is, like I said, this is recorded, so people are going to watch this, and this is about empowerment and wanting to just give you some nuggets, some tools to help you get to the next level. And I want you guys to leave with knowing that your mental health is essential to living a quality life. Okay. And it's going to look different for everyone. All right. So I just want you to continue to be encouraged, and, you know, just keep pressing forward. Haviland, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yes, Mr. Johnson has something to say.
Okay.
You all are worthy. All of us are worthy, and each of us have a purpose. We were created for a purpose, and you all need to manifest your purpose. And any dream killer, any naysayer, anyone who tries to take away from that, you need to banish them and start surrounding yourself with people who are going to encourage you to be purposeful and highly intentional. We all have our story. Your story will bless someone else. Don't stifle your story. Heal yourself. Seek to be healed, as Ms. Lupia indicated. Mental health is not a negative thing. Mental health is a good thing. You know what you know. And when you know you need the help, then seek it. You know, I'm here. Everyone else out here on the panel, we're here for you. You are not alone in this world. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Haviland?
I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be a part of this panel. I thought we would just, you know, mostly be discussing what it's like to be in college, but I really was able to take away a lot from the conversation myself, especially being that I'm about to go through another life transition. So it's good for me to bring these things back to the forefront of my mind. And for anybody going to college, you know, keep these things in mind, even if you're not ready to seek help with some of the things you may need help with. Continue to try to put yourself in these circles where you can just listen, because it's still pouring into you, you know, sometimes when you're not ready to take that step. So just keep that in mind, and thank you for allowing me to be on this panel.
You are welcome. Thank you. All right, Ms. Naomi, any closing remarks?
Thank you for this so much. It was very much needed. My biggest takeaway from it is, as much as we want to do this thing called life alone, it's no way possible that you feel life alone. And there's no shame asking for help. Everybody needs help sometime in their life. So I thank you all for giving me these words of encouragement that was very much needed. And anyone going to college, it's okay. Your process is your process. Don't let anyone try to make a process for you. You go through it how you know, how you feel the best way for you to go through it. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Naomi. All right, Miss Jada.
Oh, there's already been so many wonderful things that have been said. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Dr. Upchurch, you are amazing. Thank you for asking me to be a part, for allowing me to be a part. Dr. Simmons, just thank you, thank you. I'm so blessed and grateful to have participated in a very, very meaningful conversation. There was so much that I took away. And I just want to encourage anybody that's, maybe struggling with their mental health or they're going into college, just hold firm to your foundation. And if you're in a dark place, just remember that there is light at the end of the tunnel. I love you and God loves you best. Thank you so much again for having me.
Thank you. So thank you again to all the panelists. You guys are absolutely amazing. I know we normally our town halls are an hour, but this was so important that we allotted more time. So I thank you guys for hanging in there, with us this evening. And to our attendees, your presence is appreciated. I hope that you all will be able to take the things we've spoken about this evening and utilize it, apply it to your daily life. And it doesn't matter whether you're in high school, getting ready to make that transition, or if you're in college, getting ready to graduate, or, it's your freshman year. Just know that everything that we do takes time, okay? And you're in this, and I always say, I'm not in competition with anybody. And if I am my biggest competition, the only person that I need to challenge is me. So keep working to be the best you that you can be. Don't ever give up. And remember that failure is success in reverse. And again, this app was created with you in mind. So if there are parents that are on, of course, our students, we want you to utilize Positivity Plus. And if you don't utilize, let's be real, if you decided, hey, I need to see somebody face to face, then go to your local community mental health, because we want to make sure that you get what you need. I provide coaching on the app, and I can tell you that I see a lot of people up here, and I remember names from our previous town halls. So there are a lot of repeats. I'm glad to see you. That means that this is good stuff in these town halls. So you don't want to miss what we do next. So please, everyone, take advantage of this. Tell a friend, and make sure that you go back and watch it. It could be something that you go back and watch 2 weeks from now or a month from now. But before I go, is there any of Dr. Upchurch, is there anything that you want to say? Tara, is there anything that you want to say before we close out this evening?
I believe that Dr. Upchurch had to leave out a little while ago, but he just wanted to extend that he is so grateful for all of you guys attending and being a part of this, and that he wanted to share how proud he was of everyone, specifically at Positivity Plus, but also the people in attendance and the panelists who have volunteered to help us out with this session today.
Thank you. I see you, Upchurch.
I know. Thank you, Dr. Hambren. First of all, thank everyone for coming. I'll make it short and brief. I learned a lot tonight. Honestly, we might have created a book after reviewing all of these stories. And so if I could share one thing, it would probably be love yourself the way you love others. And I think for the most part, the way we love other individuals, we need to also take that and use that as well, how we look at ourselves and how we love ourselves. So once again, thank you for coming. I guess the last thing I would say would be Russell Simmons. Thank you for coming and good night.
Thank you. And this is The Corner, College Life 101, brought to you by Positivity Plus. We see you all next time. Thank you and good night.
Good night, everybody.